How are we doing? So today is Thursday afternoon. It's been about 2 days since I uploaded the last video, so I'm just going to be making a new video. This one we're just going to be sort of discussing sand. Oop. This guy wants something. Anyway, so what we're going to do is, following on from this little cannon here, we are going to talk about what happens when this wall is covered in water. So, I'm just going to cover that in water very, very quickly. So, we have our little dry scatter cannon here from the last episode. So what we're going to do is we are going to fire said cannon, and we are going to see... I think I've got everything turned off. I do indeed have everything turned off. Give me a second. There we go. So, we're just going to fire that again. You're going to see that this is going to do absolutely no damage to this wall whatsoever. Now that's because I think it was might have been episode 4 or 5, where I talked about TNT. I did say that TNT does not do damage in water. Now, the only real way you can get around that is by making the TNT not sit in water. And the only real way you're going to do that is by putting the TNT inside a solid block. So we've got a couple of solid blocks here to work with. We've got normal sand, we've got red sand, we've got concrete, and we have anvils, and we've got gravel. So basically anything affected by gravity that can be turned into an entity, and when it is solidified, turns into a solid block, we can be using to destroy a wall like this. Now, the only way we are going to be able to destroy that is if the TNT is physically inside the block that we have stacked against the wall. So if we go, for example, and we stack some sand up here a little bit, so we stack like 3 pieces of sand up, place some TNT here, that's sandstone, isn't it? That is sandstone. It's my texture pack, I need to fix that one up. But what we're going to do now is, just to demonstrate this, we are going to light that piece of TNT. So when we light that, you'll see that the sand falls into it, and it becomes a solid block. And then boom, we get this tiny little hole. So coming off from that, that is going to be the only way you can really destroy these walls. Other alternatives are what I did show, like the concrete, gravel, red sand, they all work. But the key is, they need to be a block that can, A, become an entity, which, once they become an entity, they're going to be affected by gravity, and B, they need to be affected by TNT. So the neat thing about all these blocks that I did just mention is the fact that all of these can be shot by TNT. Now, they can't be shot in the solid form. So if we put a piece of sand, say, just here in the cannon, and we break that repeater there, and we fire this cannon, so I have my scatter turned off, that's going to fire nothing. You can't shoot a piece of sand while it's like that. You need to make sure it is an entity before you do fire that piece of sand. That's the only way you can shoot it forwards. So, basically, I don't really want to get into exactly how to do this, because I do want to do that in its own practical episode. But for a quick summary, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to turn the piece of sand into an entity. So, because it's a solid block, you need to drop the sand like this. That will briefly turn it into an entity, and we can actually show that with hitboxes on. So it remains an entity for about half a second there. Alternatively, you can also push it with a piston. So while you need to keep in mind that 12 block piston limit, you can also push a piece of sand like this. Now I am hinting pretty heavily what the next cannon is going to be, but you can see there, it does turn into an entity there. So basically what you need to do to get this thing to be able to destroy a wall like that is, just before this TNT goes off here, all these 24 pieces of TNT, just before that goes off, you're going to need to push a piece of sand in. So once that sand becomes an entity, and say it falls for a little bit, closer to where the power is, you need this to go off, which will then shoot the sand out the front. that's going to be the only way you can destroy these walls. All the gravity affected blocks except the pistons. So pistons are immovable. You can see that the or not pistons, sorry, anvils are immovable. But what you can do instead is you can use a extended piston to hold an anvil up, and then you can release it. You don't really need to use anvils much, and for the most part what you will be using is red sand, normal sand, gravel. But you can use anvils, I don't know, if you want to kill players while you're shooting your cannon, for example. But yeah, apart from that, that's going to sum up this video. That's going to be the subject of the next practical lesson, where we do actually talk about how to properly get this sand firing towards a wall. And then that little feature there of the TNT doing damage while it is inside a solid block will be the focal point for everything we're going to cover in the future. Absolutely everything is going to hinge around that. That's the only way you're going to be able to raid bases. So that's basically it. That's sand and falling blocks. Pretty short episode, I know. I don't really want to turn this into another practical episode yet, because I did just want to explain the different types of falling blocks and how to make them falling blocks. And yeah, I'll just cover the practical video in the next episode. So apart from that, I'll catch you all later. So have yourselves a wonderful day.